You're listening to I Love It When, and I'm your host, Mo. I'm a speaker, coach, and connector. You're in the right place if you're looking for some inspiration and you're ready to truly embrace who you are. My intention with this podcast is to help you see that you are so much more powerful than you realize. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of I Love It When. I'm your host, Mo. And today I'm really excited to have Crystal Novak back with me on the podcast. I was so excited actually about it that in the last episode that I did was just a solo episode with myself. I actually talked about you at the end and I was like, the next episode will be Crystal, which I don't ever usually do. So it's just giving everybody a heads up. So thank you so much for coming back on to share about your new book, which is super exciting.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity that you're giving me here. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I told everybody that who's watching and you're listening, I told Crystal before we recorded that, normally I record a separate introduction. And part of that is because doing the introduction with someone on the camera, I usually get super nervous and I'll read the bio wrong or something like that. But because I know Crystal so well, I actually wanted her to come on and actually share her own introduction. And we're just going to launch into the episode today. So why don't you start off by just sharing a bit about who you are and your journey a little bit?
Okay. Well, I'm Crystal Novak. Um, I am a psychic. I also am a conscious channel. I get information that comes through, and I also do energy work. Um, and unbeknownst to me as a little girl, I figured that was normal and didn't realize that it wasn't. Um, So I really shut things down a lot until I left home. And then in my early 20s, started bringing it back online. Um, and it started definitely showing up more, which was great. Um, and then I had the opportunity to attend a class where a woman was channeling an ascended master, and then he would come through and teach this class. Um, and I was absolutely struck by the rightness when I went to this first time to experience this. It just was, this is it. I
Hmm.
had no doubt in my mind that this is where I was supposed to be. And so this woman's name is Ruth, and Ruth did this work for 35 years. And we had, excuse me, class once a week for 35 years. Um, and Katumi was, still is, an ascended master, and he studied a lot with and taught us a lot about the Kabbalah, which is a lot of people have heard of the Tree of Life. Um, so he taught us about that. He talked to us and taught us about our chakras, about working with energy. He talked to us about Hermetic doctrine, which are rules and principles that guide the expression of energy, working with aspects or parts of our consciousness, how to identify and remove false beliefs because we manifest through our unconsciousness. And if we haven't done our shadow work, then when we go to manifest, things go kind of sideways because it's not a clear
Hmm.
flow that we're collaborating with. Um, and part of what happens is I get a lot of guidance. I basically live my life by listening and going with guidance. And about a year ago, they're like, "Hey, we've been after you for a while. Will you write that book?" And I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." And they've actually, I've been, they've actually been asking me for quite some time to write, but Katumi used to say, you can't give what you don't have, and you can't take someone where you haven't been.
Hmm.
And when I began to write this book, I realized part of the reason I had put off writing it was that I had had more work to do in myself before I could actually sit down and write this book because I can't take you someplace where I haven't been.
Hmm.
So,
Amazing. Uh, I love just the wealth and the range of knowledge that you bring that comes through not only in the book, and I guess I'm thinking about people too who maybe have never met with you before, or even if they have had a session, uh, sometimes people don't realize how many different things you know about and all the things that can come forth in a session, which is
Yes.
really helpful from a client's perspective, having worked with you myself, that you can pull from all sorts of different spots when you're helping someone, which is really amazing. I also think uh, you have a way of putting people at ease because immediately I know I feel from you no judgment and an openness to a variety of cultures, way of being. Like, I think that comes through very much so in your sessions. And I know in the part of the book that I've read so far, it comes through there as well, which is
Mm,
amazing.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay, well, the reason I wanted to have you on today was really to share about your journey with this book because I want people to know, if they've listened to your previous episode, they know a little bit about you and who you are. Uh, but can we talk a little bit about what prompted you to write the book? And I know it sounds like your guides definitely have been. How long have they been prompting you to?
A long time, probably at least 10 years.
Okay.
And again, part of it was being ready, and the other part of it was for me when I want to start writing something, I have a tendency to like I'll get a paragraph written and then I just go into like Uber editor mode and just like rip the whole thing apart. Um, and then just get really stuck on that. And so
Hmm.
when I wanted to start this, I had to say, I just told myself, okay, we're not doing that. We're just going to start putting stuff out there. Um, and it's like, did you have an outline? It's like, no, I didn't have an
Hmm.
outline because then I would be get stuck again about all the stuff that was in the outline.
Hmm.
I had a general sense of what I wanted to write because the whole underlying piece to this was, and it's in the introduction to my book, that when I first stepped onto my path, I wish there'd been a book like this,
Hmm.
a resource for me to find information and to understand stuff because there really wasn't any place to go.
Hmm.
Um, I didn't feel like there was people I could talk to. Um, I was also struggling with my own trauma and I needed to do more work on that. So I just felt very overwhelmed and trying to figure out where to go and what to do.
Hmm.
Um, so, so when I started to sit down and write, I knew I had a purpose in why I wanted to write it. And then it became, okay, so then it made more sense to me because like, okay, so the first thing I need to explain is this. And then the next thing would be that. And then we're in a human body, so I need to talk about how the human body influences us and how it shapes to some degree how we perceive our reality.
Hmm.
And then started going on from there. So had a first version and that became a second version and that became a third version. Finally got to the fifth version and then that one was kind of the main one and then I add and tweak stuff in that one. So it took me about 6 months
Okay.
to write.
Hmm.
It was pretty consistent. I would also hit a spot where I'd be like, okay, I'm just need to step away for a while and then come back to it because it also would trigger stuff for me,
Hmm.
stuff to look more deeply in about myself. Um, and yeah, at night before I go to bed, I would hear like, okay, so the next chapter could be about X, Y, Z. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's good. Okay. So then wake up the next day. So I was getting little tweaks and nudges along the whole way. And also, um, told them that, okay, I'm doing this, but I need other people that can do stuff that I don't know how to do.
Hmm.
So if we want this to go forward, then those people need to start showing up in my life so that I can have access to what they can do so that this can continue to go forward. And then, and then people just started
Start showing up.
showing up. Yeah. Because there's a lot here that I didn't know about. I didn't know about how you publish or what you do with
Oh
it or
yeah.
any of that stuff.
Yeah. I think that's obviously like often, no, maybe not obviously, but for me, having talked to other people who wanted to write a book, and I mean, including myself someday, that part always stops me. And I think it stops a lot of people because it can be overwhelming of, how many steps are there? Do I need to take them all? Which avenue how do I publish? Who do I talk to? Can be really overwhelming.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So in a way, it was good that I didn't know all that stuff because it
Hmm.
kept me focused on what I was creating.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also had to get to the place where I was willing to be seen.
Hmm.
It's, that's what this is.
Yeah, very much
And
so.
yeah, and that was not a safe place to be when I was growing up. So
Hmm.
it's taken me a lot of different places,
Yeah,
which I'm very appreciative of, things I never even thought about. So it's been a good journey and it's continuing to unfold. So,
yeah. What has surprised you the most through this process so far?
well, I don't want to sound really egotistical, but
You will not.
hey, I like what I've been writing. I
Cool.
was enjoying it. I was getting into it.
I think that's
So
super important, especially as the author, to like really be enjoying what you're putting together.
yeah. So there was that piece and just the flow of it. There was not a lot of great effort per se. I mean, if I was starting
Mhm.
to write about something and I said, okay, I want to take this a little bit deeper, I would go do a little bit of research and find out about how this works or that works, and then okay, let's bring that in and put that in. Um, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I
I
love that.
yeah, and also it increased my self-confidence.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I definitely, I wish more people would go through this process of whether it be writing a book or just doing something that they've wanted to do for a long time because I don't think I realized myself for a long time that it's by actually taking action and doing the things that I don't know how to do that then my confidence grows. It's not before. It's like, oh, let me wait until I feel really good about this I new idea before I start it, and it just never happens. I never feel great about it until I start going through it, and I'm like, oh, I can do this. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
This next question, I had thought of you, and I thought this is just an interesting one because I love how you talk about your guides. What did you learn about your guides during the process that was maybe new or different?
My guides are always available. Um, but it's kind of this stance of we know you got this, and so keep doing what you're doing. We're here if you need us, but we know you know what you're doing, so just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Um, but if I got to a place where I would feel overwhelmed or anything, that I would sit down and have a conversation with them.
Okay.
Uh, because part of the what I talk about as part of the book is there's a lot of conversation in there about overcoming trauma and how trauma, depending on especially what age it happens, can really distort our bodies and our nervous system as we're growing.
Hmm.
And that can linger later on into our adult life because it's like that was the foundation that was getting built, and then we continued to build on top of that. So I realized that there was still some stuff that I hadn't processed through. And a lot of it was anger. And yeah, yeah, that could be a whole nother rabbit hole. But that was part of it. Um, and my guides are really, I mean, like I always tell them, you know who you're working with if something goes sideways, and I just say, okay, really? Not happy right now. I'll be back. And they know that I've got to go work through it and stomp around and have a hissy fit or whatever I need to do, and
Yeah.
they'll know I'll be back. So I always feel supported, even though I know there's a safety net, but it's not sitting there, but I know if I need it, it'll appear. And so
Hmm.
that's another piece of it, is trusting this whole process.
Hmm.
And it can't be rushed. Um, it, it it's almost like the book was a living thing and I was bringing it alive in stages, and I just had to trust the process, that it
Hmm.
was unfolding the way it was supposed to. Um, yeah.
Love that. You've already mentioned that this has definitely pushed you to be seen more and that you will be seen more and more as more people read it. Has the book pushed you in other ways, expected or unexpected?
Well, yeah, it has, because um, when I was starting to write it, I got connected to a person who's an author, who I know uh, in the community, the metaphysical community. And she said, okay, so is this your first book? Yes. Is it fiction or nonfiction? It's nonfiction. Are you writing it as an authority? Like, a lot of books that people have written them are professors or teachers or whatever, and they're authorities in their field. And I'm like,
Mhm.
um, I don't think so, but other people might think that I'm an authority, but I'm a little reluctant to grab that and say I'm an authority because
Mhm.
in my mind, there's so much left to learn and explore
Mhm.
that I can only tell you I'm an authority about me, but
Mhm.
um,
It's an interesting word choice to use with that too. When you think about authority, I don't necessarily have the best like connotations with that. Authority means feels like it means more like controlling, and you're
yeah.
definitely not that. Would I say you're a leader in this realm? Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And at the same time, people were like five different people said, when are you going to start teaching classes? Okay, great. Now this is coming from five different places. No one's
Yeah.
prompted. No one's like
Yeah.
got together and said, let's bug Crystal about this. It's like, no,
Hmm.
it's all independent. And so then I realized, okay, the person who I was in contact with at the time said, so are you doing this for charity? And I said, I don't understand. She says, well, if you're writing this, you're going to have a lot of people's attention. What are you going to do with that? And I'm like, okay, great, more things to think about. Um, and it's getting gently nudged, shoved by other people in my life about, man, go for it.
Hmm.
You know so much stuff. You love to teach, which is true. I
Hmm.
do enjoy teaching and sharing
Hmm.
information. Um, so reluctantly, there's probably little heel marks in the sand behind me of being drugged forward in this process. Um, so what that wound up being is a community I'm calling the Path of Light, which has a membership, and then we meet live once a week. And um, I just had my first one last week. So, but the goal is to have people share their experiences, share where they're stuck, or ask questions about things. And also to create a safe space for people to share that, um, and potentially build like a camaraderie where if we're not on live, somebody will reach out to somebody in the group and say, hey, blah, 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 blah. What do you think? And blah, blah, blah back. And
Yeah.
because I will be sharing information, which I call tools, but then I'll say, okay, here's your box of tools. Here's something to consider now. Everybody go out for a week. I call it homework. We'll come back next week and then you can share your experiences about how that worked for you,
Hmm.
what your experience was in utilizing that particular tool.
Hmm.
Um, so, so that's where
So
that's
needed.
going. Yeah,
Yeah. Really exciting. How did the first meeting go?
it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. Um, have a good group of people. I know everybody in the group. Um, yeah. And then it's also in the book itself, there's a hyperlink in the ebook, and then there's a QR code, there better be, in the written book. I haven't actually gotten my hands on.
Oh, well, I have mine right here. I should check and see.
Yeah.
For those of you that are on YouTube watching us, the book is very beautiful. Let's see, QR code should be somewhere on the front or the back.
Yeah, it should be in the front area, probably where, and I got a really bad feeling that it's not there. Um, where it says info to contact me, like right around the copyright.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't see that. I see your email though.
Yeah. So if you want to get a hold of me, my email's in the book.
And we'll
Um,
definitely make sure that the link to your website is in the show notes because once you
yeah.
go to Crystal's website, you can find the link to sign up for the community right there and be
Mhm.
super easy. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and it's similar in a way to how I was part of a meditative study group that met once a week.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
I
so
think that consistency is so needed right now. I mean, everybody needs it, myself included. And it's you have a very grounding energy too. So I'm excited to see how people who get to interact with that on a weekly basis and then just try these bite-sized tips and tools out in their actual life. and
Hmm.
then share about it. The more Tom and I talk, my partner Tom and I talk about sharing and just vocalizing things, the more I realize over time how much just having the opportunity to share something frees blocks from my body.
Hmm.
Um, and so I don't think we have, I mean, I know therapy is a pretty normalized thing at this point. A lot of people talk about their experiences, but there's still a lot of people who don't. Or even if they have done therapy, they don't talk on and share on a regular basis. And so there's some real powerful, magical things that can happen in that kind of a space.
Yeah.
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 So for people who are, my next question was, what guidance do you have for the readers as they make their way through the book? So if someone's going to go pick this up this week, besides joining your community, which is an obvious to me, obvious for those listening, very affordable, very reasonable, and you get so much from it. What other guidance do you have for them as they start reading through the process? Because for me too, it's absolutely a workbook.
I call it chewy. There's a lot to
Mhm.
mull over. I would say take your time.
Okay.
Um, if you feel like you need to sit it down, excuse me, for a while, then set it down for a while. Come back when you feel ready. Um, when I wrote it and I had people beta read for me for like the first like 100 to 150 pages, I wanted the reader to feel seen, like this that I'm talking about, they can relate to these experiences.
Hmm.
Because growing up in trauma um, can really do a number on your body, but also on your emotional body and your mental body.
Hmm.
Um, and to the point where you can potentially have CPTSD or other issues that arise from that
Hmm.
and might not even know that that's what's happening to you.
Yeah. That's one of
And
the
then,
hardest parts, I think.
yeah, and then you think
Yeah.
there's something wrong with you and why can't I be better? And then you're beating yourself up for
Hmm.
something that you had no control over.
Hmm.
Um, and if you're sort of new to exploring your inner self, then it can be pretty daunting because
Hmm.
once you really start to step in and do your inner work, then all this stuff that you've squished down starts coming forward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, I love that. Literally of taking your time, not feeling like you need to rush through this. And the more you take your time, the more you'll be able to soak in from it too.
yeah. And I'm a huge advocate about journaling as well. Um, when I first started journaling, I actually wrote something on a piece of paper and I read it. I was
Hmm.
terrified. Oh my God, I put that out there on a piece of paper. What if somebody reads this? Like, no,
Yeah.
read it, but still. I feel extremely vulnerable. Um, it's rather harrowing.
Hmm.
So if journaling is new for somebody, then I just want to reassure them that journaling helps really because it puts stuff out on a piece of paper that you can see and then you can access in a much different way than when it's running around inside of you.
So
Um,
true.
and
And
you actually,
letting the stuff ruminate in your head, in which there's going to be a lot of things, like you said, that come up as you read through the book. And so getting it out on paper might help people to decipher it differently. Yeah.
yeah, and it gives you like also you can go back and like look at your steps from when you first started and you can notice patterns or all different kinds of stuff.
Hmm.
And the other piece to that is a lot of emotions are going to come up.
Hmm.
And most of us did not get taught about how to regulate our emotions. We basically got told to shut them down. Um, so I know people that they say they're feeling stuff, but they can't tell you what it is because they don't have names
Yeah.
they're feeling. I've been in that place as well. Um, so it's a gradual, depending on where you are, it's a gradual awakening to yourself. Um, and you will get in touch with the rage and the betrayal and the grief and the
Hmm.
loss.
Hmm.
I'm really talking it up. Everybody can't wait to run out and get this.
Well, I always, and this is why I think you have this community because it gives them access to you. So as they're reading the book, even if you don't join the community, I would recommend a session with Crystal because when this stuff comes up, I think to know that you're not alone and that it's actually a really good thing that it comes up because I, of course, being glass half full, always me, I think about what's the flip side. Like once you feel these feelings and release them, you're gonna feel so good. Like it feels, this is what motivates me to keep going, even on the days when it sucks and things are coming up that I can't explain. Um, it's that feeling you get afterwards when you finally have healed that little bit of you that came up, that bit of rage, that bit of whatever it was. You experience a different self. Like you said earlier, it's like now I can make decisions without that rage, without that stuff influencing how all my relationships, my entire life.
Yes.
It's so
Yeah,
rewarding.
it is. And it's work,
Yeah.
but each one of us is the only person that can do it.
Mhm.
Um, so it becomes a matter of, do you let your past write your future, or do you say, okay, I'm done with this. I'm tired of feeling like this, or I'm tired of things always happening like this. I want to break through that. I want to get on the other side of it
Mhm.
and to become your own parent, your own advocate.
Mhm.
And as you begin to do the work, then the little kids that got burdened realize that it's not their job anymore to try and take care of you. That's your
Mhm.
job, is to take care of them.
Mhm.
Um, and it's the amount of peace you'll experience is so well worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think once people can get a taste of that, once they start doing it, that's what I think really can keep you going because you don't realize it's kind of like I often think about when I went gluten-free and dairy-free because my cousin described it this way too. She was like, I didn't realize that I wasn't actually supposed to feel my stomach all of the time because she was in pain almost all of the time. And that really resonates with me because when you feel things in your body, which oftentimes people who, if you haven't let go of a lot of those emotions, you might be feeling actual pain in your body
Mhm.
because your body's trying to speak to you in that way. That peace, once you get a hold of that and you're like, oh, you mean I can go through my day and not be in pain constantly? Oh, what is this?
I go through my
Like
day
game
without
changer.
constant fear and anxiety, without
Yeah.
catastrophic catastrophifying everything, with being able to like quiet that anxiety and not
Yeah.
like stuff it, but acknowledge it and go, okay, I hear you,
Yeah.
but I'm the driver of the car and this is where we're going to go.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hello, I love it when listeners. I have a special announcement for you. The Unplug from Fear retreat was a huge success, and thus we are hosting another one in February 2026, and tickets are already live for sale on my website. I have never experienced a retreat like our first Unplug from Fear retreat just last month in September. I felt so invigorated, energized, and excited. I knew I wanted to set the date for the next retreat as soon as I woke up the next day. This has never happened to me before. You can go to iloveitwen.org to purchase your ticket today and check out the testimonials from previous attendees and speakers. I cannot wait to see you there.
Yeah.
When you were writing the book, I know, like you said, you didn't have an outline, which I freaking love. I love because I constantly am talking to people and myself about how everything is made up. So how you write a book, totally, you can totally make it up. And also, it's just about flow. And so when you came out with these three different parts, which I have a couple questions for you about each part. Did
Mhm.
you know that these sections were, did you not know that they were appearing until you kind of got through them? Because I love how you broke it down into the foundations of the human experience, reawakening the spiritual self, and then the soul's larger journey. It just makes sense to me. But did that come through as you were writing it, or was more afterwards?
Well, my original thought was, and I was calling this the title of the book before I got down the road and settled on a title, was a spirit guide for spirit having a human experience.
Mm,
So what does that mean? Um, and so that was the driving, underlining piece to all that. It's like, okay, so if I'm spirit and I'm having a human experience, what does that look like? Why would I be here? What's my purpose of being here then? Okay, so what does it mean now that I'm in this human body? I'm not this body. This is, I call it my encounter suit to be here in this plane and have the experience and have the journey of being here. But recognizing how influenced we are by being in a human body, the physicalness of taking care of it, the emotions that come,
mhm,
the mental side of things. So it's, in a way, it's like learning how to ride a bike.
Hmm.
and be really good at it. And when I was a kid and riding a bike, I got to the point where I could ride with no hands, um, just go all over the place riding a bike. I felt totally comfortable on it. So it's kind of like that. It's like getting comfortable with the feedback mechanisms in here,
Hmm.
knowing that I am not those things.
Hmm.
And a lot of us think we are this, that this is
Hmm.
it. But we're not. So
Hmm.
if I'm not this, then I need to understand how it works so that I can be more in the flow of who I am while still being here in this body.
Hmm.
So that's kind of what prompted me to figure out where I was going. It's like, okay, I need to
Yeah.
explain this. It's so I had like, okay, now you got this part, and then you need that part. In order to get
Hmm.
to there, you need. So it kind of
Yeah.
unfolded itself.
Okay. Well, I love that part. I love specifically the foundation, setting the foundation of the human experience with the body because uh, I don't think it matters where you're at in your journey, whether you've been practicing energy work for 10 plus years now, or you're just a beginner and you're just starting to learn about all of this, that the body, the physical part is so important. Because, like you said, I think for myself, I can definitely see this where for a while, and there's still times today where I'll feel a feeling or something will be going on, and I think this is who I am, this is me, this is, and I get confused and I get stuck in the mental. And so, yeah. So my first question for you actually about this section, the foundation of the human experience, what really stuck out to you from this section as you wrote it? Was there something when you were writing it where you were like, oh, this is really key. This really needs to be heard?
I think one of the underlying things that did strike me is this body is wired for survival. It's hardwired. You cannot unhook it. Um,
Mm,
we, whether we are consciously aware of it or not, we do scan for danger.
hmm.
Um, Now we forget about that because we get here like we are having this conversation and we're in our more logical, somewhat rational mind having this conversation. Um, but w when you're young, especially if you've grown up in trauma, then the trauma gets linked to the survival piece as well. And so now you're not just scanning for the tiger, you're scanning for all the other stuff that happened and is
Hmm.
it going to happen again?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so that I found that very interesting. And I talk about that in there as well. But the other thing that really struck me was the mind. Uh, our minds, oh my goodness, our minds,
They're so fast.
well, it's like the mind thinks it's the gardener and it's actually the shovel.
Oh,
It's a tool. It's not in charge. It's
yeah,
it is.
it really does.
And if you do
Yeah.
something that it thinks is threatening, then it goes into high anxiety mode.
Mm,
And so the mind does not have like love for us or compassion for us or anything like that. It's a almost like a computer in a way. It just gets information and facts and it's goes off of previous experiences and creates stuff around that.
hmm.
When we begin to do that inner work and start to challenge those old false beliefs, the mind gets pretty revved up. It's like, oh no, 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 no. You're messing with survival stuff right here. I can't let you do that because we're all going to die if you keep doing this. So I'm
Hmm.
going to do things to mess you up so that you stop doing that and you come back over here. Um, and we forget that.
Hmm.
And it is scary to let go of control and step
Hmm.
into, I accept and I trust the divine in all things.
Yeah, which is not the way most people are living these days at all. So
Now,
it can feel like you're going crazy. Or like, when I say that to other people now, which now I have more confidence in saying, most of the time people don't say anything back, or if they're in the realm and they're aware of energy and how they talk about it, they might talk to me about it. But it is really definitely a different way of being, which takes a while to get comfortable with. Yeah, for sure.
which again, when we the some of the other tools in the book, one of them is talking about meditation and why that's so important. It gives
Hmm.
you space from that mental process.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that we don't get pulled back into it, but you
Hmm.
begin to become more detached from that. And you actually create a little like bubble That
Hmm.
now when you go through your life in a place of mindfulness, if something happens, sure, you can get triggered,
Hmm.
but then you also have the opportunity to choose how you want to respond to that.
Hmm.
Um, and sometimes we're more successful than other times. Um, but it's all information, and then
Hmm.
you can sit down with that and take it apart and find out what the lesson is inside of there. Yeah.
Yeah. I really like that concept of thinking of your brain like a computer operating system because I think because I am so logical, I had to find a way for myself to explain it to myself of like, okay, my brain's over here. It's like a computer system and it's been taking in information since I was born. And
Mhm.
so, what information has it taken in that I had no control over? And am I okay with that? Like religious beliefs, way I think about gender, the way I think about everything in your world. So when you start to think about it like that, all of a sudden, you're able to, I was able to break down and start to dig into, okay, what did I learn from TV, movies, my parents, society that I actually don't want as part of my operating system anymore? It's really helpful.
Yeah. And if you're someone who runs in the mental much more, like you don't let yourself have access to your emotions and you think you're rational and you're making decisions, well, then I
Yeah.
would say, where did you get your data value sets from?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. They're not yours.
No. Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I said it to a friend of mine and they just went, "Rrr." They
Where
went,
did you get your data sets from?
yep. And we laughed pretty hard about that because they basically told me to go take a hike and it was pretty entertaining. But yeah, this whole thing, you end up challenging all the programming.
Hmm.
Um,
Which is so healthy. It's so, yeah, it can, but it definitely challenging your programming can make you challenge other things in your life, which can be emotionally difficult. I know that for me, something that you and I have talked about, I think on our last podcast episode too, where I've mentioned it is, I realized when I started to challenge what I believed about religion, I actually felt guilty for believing something outside of what I was taught by my parents. But because I was like, well, my parents are really good people.
mhm.
And I had to separate those two and say, hey, just because they taught me something that I no longer believe or totally align with doesn't mean that they're bad people.
Right.
Yeah, and that was like that those feelings like I can't let guilt stop me from confronting something that I need to confront because it's who I am, because it really is aligning with my true self. Yeah.
It takes a lot of courage,
Yeah.
because in some instances, the people that caused the trauma are still part of your life.
Hmm.
And then now you are doing this work, and sometimes they aren't interested in the fact you're doing this work. They don't want
Hmm.
to talk about it. They mostly try and trigger you to pull you back into the old way of being.
Hmm.
So it's such a mixed bag. You want to go see them potentially, and then
Hmm.
when you show up, they start this Mickey Mouse stuff, and you're like, oh man.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, working through that, relationships at work, partner relationships as well.
Hmm.
Um, it's a lot. That's
Yeah.
why I'm like, take your time. You might read a section and come back to it 2 weeks later and be able to see it clearly or see it in a different way.
Hmm.
It's not a one and done kind of book. I think it's one that you'll come back to,
Oh
not you,
yeah.
but a person will come back to um, and reread it and have a different perspective now because they've done a different level of work, and so that
Hmm.
changes things.
Hmm. Well, moving into part two of the book, the reawakening of the spiritual self, can you kind of give an overview of what's the essence behind this part? So you've moved past now the human experience, and now do you talk more about what the spiritual side is?
25 words or less. So what I was taught was the divine wish to know itself better. And so I thought, okay, if I send out individuated pieces of myself,
Hmm.
they all will have different experiences, and I will then have all these different experiences. Um, and that's the most condensed. simplest explanation for that, which is why we all have free will so that we can be
Hmm.
um, and make choice
Hmm.
instead of just be automated. If we make choice, then we can step outside our perceived limitations
Hmm.
and move beyond that.
Hmm.
So, spirit, to begin to awaken to your eternal self, your divinity, um, that you don't have to prove anything. We
Hmm.
don't have to earn anything. We're innately worthy.
Hmm.
Um, but when we get here, we don't remember because we're incarnated into an infant's body, and basically you're just a brainstem and a pair of lungs at that point.
Hmm.
You have no way of stopping anything that's coming to you. And also, you don't have any adult experience. Everything is new. And so we are going off of what we're told from whoever our caretakers are
Hmm.
in our first immediate experience. And then we get more programming about different expectations about, like you spoke earlier, about gender or religion or
Hmm.
social and economic groups, ethnicity, ethnic, you know what I mean. Um, which would lead us to potentially experience things in a different way because we're in a different category, if you will.
Hmm.
But when you step into to becoming more aligned with your spiritual side, you realize that a lot of that we look at in our lives is actually illusion. Um,
Hmm.
so it's our body is set up, the physical body is set up to begin to be elevated in the amount of energy and frequency that it can carry. And when you begin to do the spiritual work, especially if you're meditating and being more aware of energy in your space and how to clear energy out of your space, then you're starting to um, take in information differently
Hmm.
and experience it differently than what am I going to have for breakfast? It's a separate
Yeah.
sort of thing. Um,
I like how you said too that I'm flashing back to when you were talking about when you first walked into the meditation group with Katumi and you just felt so much rightness. It reminded me of when, at the time, when I was transitioning out of going, like I'd stopped going to church regularly because it just did not resonate for me anymore. It was like 15 years ago now, I realized. And I went into my boss's office at my old job and I said, something like, I'm just going to learn more about Reiki and fairies because that's what feels like home to me. And I remember he kind of laughed and he was like, really? And I said, honestly, I've been looking for a church that felt like home. It just home was the word for me. And it didn't mean like home where my family is. It's just a different sense of home. And when I started learning about Reiki and just learning about energy and allowing myself to explore what I'd always felt was so right,
mhm.
that's when I realized that spiritual side, you'll feel a sense of rightness and then trusting that you're not making it up in your head, trusting that this is actually real. It reminds me of what you were talking about, reminding me of that piece of just how right it feels. And it's that part that we don't get to acknowledge, that nobody ever teaches us how to acknowledge.
Well, if you say I'm going to go learn about Reiki and fairies, everybody is like, sure, okay, yeah. Because part of all the programming we get is we get told that everything external is what's important.
Hmm.
We're not in, and all the authority is out there, and all
Yeah.
the people that we want to model ourselves are out there, and we're not encouraged to create an inner relationship with ourselves. Some religions actually have like a broker. You have to go through the broker in order to have access to the divine,
Hmm.
and you have to do it a certain way.
Hmm.
Um, and I personally just don't believe that. It's available 24/7. I mean,
Hmm.
it totally exists no matter
Hmm.
what we're doing or what's going on. It's always there, and we are a
Yeah.
part of that larger landscape.
And that makes so much sense to me too. The more I hadn't really connected this piece, but it's obvious of like how you said we're all a part of the divine coming, we've come here to experience a part of ourselves,
Mhm.
which obviously to me means like we're all one and the same, we're all part of the same energy. And
Mhm.
that would tell me there's not one being here on earth that is above another. There's not one that has more connection or yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Um
But we
the
do that.
Yeah, constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our programming tells us we're supposed to be in competition with everybody around us.
Hmm.
Um, and then we spend so much time worrying about what other people think about us
Hmm.
because that underlying fear is if we don't conform, then we'll be cast out and nobody
Hmm.
will like us. Um, and in some instances, and depending on who you're associating with, that gives permission to bully you or
Hmm.
push you around because then they feel more superior because they're picking on somebody who's less than.
Hmm.
So it creates a lot of judgment. Instead of just realizing that that person's doing it that way and that works for them. That doesn't mean
Hmm.
anything wrong necessarily. It's just doesn't work for me. I wouldn't do it
Hmm.
that way, but
Hmm.
that's not
Yeah.
for me to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about there was a section that I looked at in there that, and you and I have had lots of conversations about this, about the difference between healthy spirituality versus spiritual bypassing. Uh, I think I love talking about this because I think in my journey, my own journey of meeting different healers and different people over the years, I definitely had the tendency to put people on a pedestal and be
Hmm.
like, "Oh, they're a healer. They run in the pure energy all the time. I don't have to worry about the human part of them." And oh my goodness, I learned some real good lessons that way.
Same here.
Everybody is still human. Everybody's very human. And
Yes.
so, as people are going through this journey and reading your book, what does that mean, healthy spirituality versus spiritual bypassing?
Well, to me, part of that is people want to not deal with their emotions.
Hmm.
And so a spiritual bypass would be like, I'm just going to, I'm an elevated being, so I no longer have to consider my emotions. Um, it's like I need to overcome those and ignore them because they're just distractions to take me away from this purely mental thing that I want to go do. Um, we're wired, we have emotions. You can try and deny them, but that doesn't make them not happen.
Hmm.
And they serve in their own way. They have a purpose.
Hmm.
Um, so spiritual bypassing can be I'm just going to ignore the emotional stuff. I'm just going to say, oh, it happened in the past, or I'm going to pretend things are just fine.
Hmm.
That toxic positivity where people are like, oh no, it's all love and light. And it's like,
Hmm.
no, it's not.
Hmm.
Um, and just we're all, it's not grounded. It's not grounded in reality. Um, and it gives you a way out to not go inside and do that shadow work and do that healing work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I love
Yeah.
that. I wanted to make sure to mention that because I think that's something that is really important to me about I mean, I like the way that you said it. It's living and growing in your spiritual self without losing sight of the world that we live in. And
Hmm.
yes, racism exists. All the isms exist, and it's important to acknowledge those and acknowledge the world that we live in. Yeah.
The only thing I have control over is how I respond to something. Um, that's the I the I'm the only thing that I have control over in my
Hmm.
response to something. And again, that definitely leads us to want to have control over things because we don't want to have to be overwhelmed by something
Hmm.
or experience something uncomfortable,
Hmm.
which you can go back to the mind
Hmm.
saying like, nope, I don't, we're not having that. We're not doing that. It's like,
Hmm.
well, guess what?
Hmm.
Uh, yes, we are. We're going to
Hmm.
work. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Now, part three, the soul's larger journey, which is a section I haven't read yet. I was looking at the different titles, and for people who are newer to the spiritual journey, there might be like a lot of language in there that they don't understand, which is totally okay.
Hmm.
Uh, but I just kind of want to say, like, be ready for an adventure because this is where it starts to get like I remember being in the car with you at one point. We were talking about something, and in my head, I didn't say it out loud to you until later, but I was like, "This is so cool. This is exactly like what I imagine real life is actually like." Because when you start to learn about some of these things, again, it just feels so right and it makes so much sense. And it's like all the stuff that people don't talk about, like fairies, for example, and different realms and different energy levels. And so, anyways, I looked at that section and I was like, ooh, okay. What are soul contracts and how has it helped you to learn more about them in your life? I thought that was an interesting one for people, maybe if they've never heard of soul contracts, kind of give them a little taste of that part three.
So just a caveat about part three. A lot of people are like, I don't care about all this other stuff you talked about. I just want to jump into part three and I just want to go to the Akashic records and I just want to go do
Yeah.
look at everything and do all these things and I want to experience this and I want to do that. And it's like, would you let a 5-year-old drive a car? And I'm not saying anybody's 5 years old. I'm just saying that it's better to have a foundation to function off of
Hmm.
where you know who you are and you're solid in your space.
Hmm.
And not that you that doesn't leave you closed and you can't open to things, but a lot of the stuff presented in the last part of the book is you need to have a better sense of your energy and a better sense of your strengths before
Hmm.
you decide you're going to go wander over and mess around with that.
Hmm.
Um, so I just wanted to say that.
Hmm.
Um, the soul contract. Well, we actually are. We are not a soul. We are part of a soul. Um, and so prior to incarnating, not only on this plane but at other places, souls, soul families, soul groups will get together and create contracts potentially about what we will do as a group when we get over and incarnate. Um, so that can show up as lessons that need to be cleared, and we as different individuals say, okay, yeah, let's do that this lifetime. Let's clear this. Let's work on this. And um, but what we forget is we're incarnating into this plane, and this is the slowest vibrational plane. This is where energy vibrates so slowly it actually becomes matter. That doesn't happen on the other planes. So this is a very unique place, and it's a very unique place for experiencing, which is why there is so many of us here experiencing and having our uh, growth here. Lots of growth opportunities. Um, so let's say, like for my parents, we all decide, okay, you're going to be my mom, you're going to be my dad. Let's go. They get here first. And my parents were probably like 20 years old or 21 when they had me, their first kid. So they had that whole time of their own personal experience
Hmm.
where they might not have done the work. They might have been too overwhelmed by whatever. So when I get here, I'm thinking, the soul contract, and basically they fulfilled it. I got here. You could say in a way they fulfilled it. They
Hmm.
gave this vessel to show up, and that could have been the end of it. Um, we have soul contracts potentially also throughout our ancestral lineage. Um, so when you start to do deeper work, especially if you're stepping more into getting in touch with your own gifts and abilities, you can actually look at your soul contracts. And or if you can't quite get to that place, you can work with a practitioner who can,
Hmm.
and you can investigate, um, for example, vows of poverty. How many lifetimes did I take a vow of poverty?
Hmm.
Now I show up here and it's like, why do I struggle with getting money? What's going on with that?
Hmm.
And then going and realizing, here's all these contracts that I agreed to or didn't agree to, um, where I took a vow of poverty,
Hmm.
um, that type of thing. It
It's
can
such
get
a
really,
different way of thinking about life, right? And I love how you mentioned if you aren't ready to do this work yet, to work with a practitioner or something, because I know I often try to share this on the podcast too, because I think sometimes people look at me and they're like, "Oh, you're an energy healer, you have your own business, you must be a pro at all these things." And I'm like, I am learning more and more every day, and yes, I'm getting better. And I will be the first one to say that I'm always here to ask for help and that I have not done any of this work without either you or Kai or Matt or Enmei, somebody guiding me
Mhm.
because I think at first it was because I felt like I couldn't do it, which is not true. Uh, but that image of like the 5-year-old that you gave, I was a 5-year-old doing things not knowing the impact, like not knowing, oh, I could actually go to the Akashic records and look at my soul contracts. So when you imagine kind of flipping through stuff and not really realizing what you're doing, what the ripple effect is, and you start to recognize again how real this is, I think that that foundation really gave me and is giving me the time to recognize the realness. And like you said, really understand and know what my own energy feels like before I go messing around with soul
Right.
contracts and like other people's soul contracts and things like that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it, it's so imperative to know yourself, know where you are with your own energetic expression. And I love the fact that you acknowledge that, yeah, you're still learning stuff and growing.
Hmm.
Um, if you're working with somebody who's thinks they're all that in a bag of chips, then you might want to move along to the next practitioner.
Yeah.
Um, just because you get a piece of paper that says, "Oh, I took this training,"
Hmm.
doesn't mean necessarily that you've actually internalized it, that you've actually worked with
Hmm.
it, that you've
Hmm.
actually done it lots of different times, so you know the ins and out of it.
Hmm. Yeah. So for people that are listening, I often say it's much like, when you decide on a dentist or a doctor, you don't just pick the first one, right? You get recommendations. Same thing with energy healers. Get recommendations and go for people who have been doing this for a while
Yeah,
and are really clear and honest about their experience and what they can and can't do. And I'd always much rather work with a practitioner who says to me, you know what, that's actually not my specialty, or I don't really like to do that. Oh, I love hearing that because that just tells me they really have good discernment around what they can and can't do or what they don't want to do too.
that's true too. Yeah. Um, because there's so many different ways to express who we are and do things. And you'll run into a variety of different people that have different modalities and different practices. Um, and not one size fits all. Your advice was really perfect about somebody's recommendation of that person, or trust your own gut when you're meeting with that person.
Hmm.
Um, anything feels off or a little edgy, then that's probably not a good fit for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's okay to honor that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hello, I love it when listeners. I want to take a moment to share with you something that I've added to my daily routine that is changing my life. It's about the size of a band-aid and it's called LifeWave. If you struggle with stress, pain, or sleep, these might be something you want to try. LifeWave patches are non-medicated and made of organic materials. Therefore, no substances like chemicals or drugs enter the body. And using your own body heat and light, the patch reflects your own light back into your body and can improve skin appearance and confidence, enhance sports performance, improve mental clarity, help you to relax, improve your sleep, better manage stress, support a healthy cardiovascular system, and more. I'm personally using them right now to heal the varicose veins in my legs, which have gotten progressively worse in the last 10 years. You wear them for 12 hours on, 12 hours off. I put one on when I get up in the morning and then I take it off right before I go to bed. I highly recommend checking out the Eon and the X39 patch to begin with. The X39 patch is the world's first and only patented technology that uses a phototherapy system to improve strength and stamina without drugs or stimulants. The other thing I really appreciate about LifeWave is that they've made it very accessible. You can get started for as low as $100 a month and see the impact on your health. LifeWave has been around since 2004 and has over 200 patents as of March 2025. If you're curious about how this technology could help you, check out the link in my show notes or on my website and reach out with any questions. I have also officially started a team, so if you're interested in selling these patches as a part of my team, I'd love to connect with you about it. What would you say is the number one mistake that you find most people make while they're on their journey through healing and awakening?
That this is all love and light, and that everything's just going to flow and everything's going to be amazing, and that's not true.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, it is amazing. And
Hmm.
yeah, there's a lot of love and light,
Hmm.
but we're human.
Hmm.
So we have our stuff and we run into other people, and um, they give us lots of lessons to learn.
Hmm.
They reflect stuff back to us that Like, okay, I need to look at that. But at the same time, I'm still a work in progress. I mean, my commitment to myself is to show up as the best version of myself in the moment.
Hmm.
I'm more successful some days than other days. Um, but I feel very solid about who I am.
Hmm.
Um, and it's given me a lot of room to not get overwhelmed or triggered when other people do stuff the way that I don't do stuff.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and that's happened spiritually as well. There's different practitioners I've met that um, I'm like, ooh, okay.
Hmm.
But it's not my place to walk up to somebody and go, hey, you know what? What you're doing, it has really that bad vibe about it. And you might want to look at that because that's not my place.
Hmm.
If they come up to me and say, hey, Crystal, and ask me a question or, that kind of thing, then the door's open and I can say something.
Hmm.
If if we tell people something they're not ready to hear, then they're either going to get mad
Yeah.
or try and shut us down in some way because we've hit something that they're still in a protective mode about and not open to hearing about yet. So
Hmm.
there's a level of discernment that comes with um, owning all this and working with it
Hmm.
because we're all at different places in our awareness and our consciousness and our experience.
Hmm.
So it doesn't necessarily mean somebody's better or worse than me. It just means we're in different places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you just answered my next question, which was, what words of encouragement would you like to leave the reader with?
You have nothing to prove. You don't have to prove that you're lovable. You don't have to prove that you deserve anything. You you are innately worthy. You are of the divine. No one ever asks God, like, have you done enough today, God, in order to have a rainbow today or anything like that? It's like,
Hmm.
no, nobody does. We don't say that. But we forget that we already are that.
Hmm.
Um, and the world that we're living in now has a lot of push towards not being worthy, that you haven't earned it. And then we feel guilty if we're doing okay and somebody isn't,
Hmm.
or if we're not suffering. Um, it doesn't help the world for us to suffer. That doesn't help anybody. It just makes us feel crappy. It doesn't do any good.
Hmm.
Um, so it's a journey. It's a lifetime journey.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
I love it. Well, and for people who are listening, you mentioned your community already. Can they join at any time, or does it happen like just the beginning of the month? Could they join today
No,
if they
you can,
wanted to?
yeah, you can join anytime.
Okay.
It's still, like I said, still relatively new.
And what's the price at right now?
It's $38 a month.
Still $38 a month, you guys. This is ridiculous. It's such a great price.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the founder's price. It's for people that um like, yeah, it's an investment. I want to
Okay.
get in. And so at this time it's $38. It will go up in the future.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
Cool. Love it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah. I'm super excited for everybody to have the opportunity to learn from you. And I know that it won't just be from you, like it'll come from your guides while they're in the sessions, it'll come from everybody in the group.
Hmm.
But like you mentioned at the beginning of the episode, you've been getting nudged and prodded by spirit guides and also people in real life because you definitely have a lot of knowledge and just a lot of personal experience that I can personally say will benefit a lot of people in the world. And so I'm grateful that you're taking this risk and this leap to be seen because I think everybody needs to see you personally. So thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I always like to end the episode with what's your current I love it when for the world or for yourself right now? Do you have one in mind?
Ooh. I love it when I find myself involved in a situation where in the past would have triggered me and I'm just like, oh, that used to really bug me and now it doesn't bug me. Yeah,
Yay.
yeah,
Oh, that's a good one.
yeah, that's a wonderful feeling.
I love that.
Yeah,
Well, thank you again so much for your time and your energy today.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I appreciate you again and thank you for this opportunity.
Totally.